Hello, and welcome to today's video about a shocking Black history. The story of William Ellison and Anthony Johnson. Slavery in the United States is a dark and painful chapter in our history. But what many people don't know is that during the peak of slavery, a significant number of free Black people also owned slaves. Today, we're going to delve into the story of two such men, William Ellison and Anthony Johnson. William Ellison was one of the wealthiest men in the South. He owned cotton gins, plantations, as well as 68 slaves. But unlike many of his white counterparts, Ellison was a Black former slave. And from sources of the time, he wasn't a very nice man. During the height of slavery in the United States, a significant number of free African Americans owned enslaved individuals despite being a minority in society. The census report from the year before the Civil War in 1860 found that only a small portion of the white population owned slaves, with 385,000 slave owners out of 27 million total white individuals in the country, with 8 million of them residing in states where slavery was legal. The history of Black individuals owning slaves in the United States dates back to colonial times. Records show that the first slave owner in the United States was a Black man named Hugh Gwynn. Before 1655, the colonies did not have legal chattel slaves and only indentured servants. All masters were obligated to free their servants after their term of service ended, which was limited to 7 years. Upon their release, they were given 50 acres of land, including Black Africans purchased from slave traders. Anthony Johnson, a man from modern Angola, was brought to the United States as an indentured servant to work on a tobacco farm in 1619. In 1622, Anthony and his fellow farm workers were nearly killed in an attack by Powhatan Indians, which resulted in the deaths of 52 out of 57 people on the farm. When Anthony was released, he was legally recognized as a free Negro and ran a successful farm. In the year 1651, he held 250 acres of land and 5 Black indentured servants. In 1654, it was time for Anthony to release John Kaser, a Black indentured servant. But instead, Anthony told Kaser he was extending his time. After leaving Anthony Johnson's farm, John Kaser found employment with Robert Parker, a free white man. Anthony Johnson took legal action against Parker in the Northampton court in 1654. The following year, the court ruled that Anthony Johnson could hold John Kaser in slavery indefinitely. And this decision granted legal approval for Black people to own other Black people as chattel slaves. As a result, John Kaser became the first person to be held in permanent slavery, and Anthony Johnson, the first Black slave owner. Historical accounts of Black slave ownership are infrequent, and when mentioned, the justification provided is that they were individuals who purchased the freedom of a family member from a white slaveholder and were unable to legally free them. However, this explanation is not representative of the majority of cases, as records from the time period reveal. Examples of this includes Justice Angel and Mistress El Horry of South Carolina, who each owned 84 slaves in 1830. In fact, in 1830, 25% of the free Black slave masters in South Carolina owned at least 10 slaves, and 8 of them owned 30 or more. The tale of William Ellison and Anthony Johnson is a surprising and not widely known aspect of African American history. It reminds us that the history of slavery in the United States is more intricate and multifaceted than previously perceived. As we continue to come to terms with our past, it is crucial that we acknowledge and understand all aspects of it, including the uncomfortable truths. Thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting and informative content. Until next time, stay curious.